Sadam, everyone. Hello and welcome. Today we have a very interesting topic. I'm not sure whether we have talked about this before in the channel. It's getting to a point where I'm not sure whether we have talked about something or not. It's been over 100 videos now, and sometimes I visit a topic lightly, but today we're going to go in depth of the 5 stages in the path to wisdom. What are the stages on the path to wisdom? We're going to find that there are 5 of them, and we're going to explore them in detail, and then we will put them in their corresponding section in the dictionary that we are building, this new dictionary of numbers that we are building. And we will complement the dictionary a little bit more. We will put a few more things on that as well. So we will start with that. The 5 stages on the path to wisdom. Wait, let me put the camera down. It might be interesting to explore what is wisdom in some other video, but for the moment we will just concentrate on this. Let's do this. 5 stages to wisdom. And the first one is called Sadam path. The 5 of them, the stages, is called paths, the 5 paths. This is called the 5 paths. And we will see, let me put all the numbers, all the names first. This is Sadam path. Then is Karam, Shakti, Sahej, and Sat. This concept that we are going to be exploring today comes from the teachings of Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. So we're going to explore that, something that is taught in the level 1 of Kundalini Yoga training, but we will go in a good depth on this. Now, these terms, these are 5 different terms. I will maybe go into what they mean by themselves. Like, for example, Sadam means like effort, like some sort of effort, like labor, doing some labor. And but it can also be connected to some sort of happiness. Sadam is also translated as happiness. And actually, when we did the video on death, if any of you watched that video, I was talking about the 5 cans, the 5 blue ethers, and one of them was called Sadam as well, like the realm of happiness. But it's not the first one. In that one, it was the 3rd stage. So the 3rd realm as the happiness one. In here, in the stages to wisdom, Sadam would be the first one. And it may be connected to happiness, but I feel it's more connected in this case to the actual effort that it would take to go from the 1 to the 2 to the 3 to the 4 and the 5. But let's start slowly. Let's start from this Sadam path. And let's imagine that we are approaching a new topic or a new something that we want to explore in life, and we want to get good at it. It's not just about wisdom, but it's about reaching mastery on anything that you do. So, like the process of learning, whatever you are doing. So you could apply these 5 stages to, for example, studying numbers. That could be, or studying yoga. That could be applicable. And maybe we can find some other examples like that, like learning a new language, or like learning to play a musical instrument, like the flute. So the first stage, the first of all, is the Sadam path. We call that the novice. The novice state. And the novice state is a little bit like the baby stage. Yeah, we're going to be making a parallel also with how a human grows. So the novice stage is very early. You don't know anything about it. You're going to start learning how to play the flute. Well, you have to learn the most basic things, the most fundamentals, which is like where to put the fingers and how you close the holes, how to blow onto the mouthpiece to produce the sound. In learning a new language, you have to learn some very, very basic vocabulary. And so there's in yoga you have to learn like some basics, like take your shoes off, find a yoga mat, and these kind of things, breathing consciously. So the beginning is very, very, like the novice aspect is when you are starting to learn the rules, learning the basic aspects on what is to come. However, there is also something interesting connecting to the aspect of happiness, which is that the first time you touch something, there could be this moment of real joy of finding something new. Like, you're given a taste of what it can be. So you never played the flute, suddenly you start going to classes. I don't play the flute, by the way, but it's just an example, yeah? So you go for the first class, and there's something like, wow, you're finally doing it. Yeah? The first time you blow and you make a sound, and you close and it makes a different sound, and you realize that you are doing it. That very first moment can be like the falling in love stage, the very first stage of a relationship as well, the falling in love. So we can put it like that. Falling in love, yeah. And it's about learning the basics, the fundamentals, which is why we're gonna see how clearly these align with the numbers, because 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the first stage is the basics. The first of all, the first steps is like when we were looking at this is our dictionary so far. The first element is earth. When you are building a house, you start building the foundations. You start building from the bottom. You don't start from the roof. So this is the foundations. You start with the basics, the very basic principles that you are going to be following throughout the path. And there could be a number of reasons why you ended up going into learning this discipline, or this new instrument, or this new language, or whatever you are learning. And there could be, one of them could be, for example, that you need to learn that in order to do something else. Maybe let's say you are looking for a job, and that job requires that you speak German, and so you have to learn the language. So necessity pulls you towards that. Or maybe you go to the doctor and they diagnose some health issue, and the doctor is telling you, look, it would be nice if you did some yoga. So then the necessity pulls you towards that. And that necessity is going to be the fundamental motivator to move you into starting a new thing. That's one of the possibilities. That's necessity. Another one would be simply possibility. You never learn the language, and suddenly your neighbor speaks German, and you are excited to meet somebody from a different culture, and you notice that the way they think and they behave is different from you, and you want to learn more, and the possibility is just there, and they say, well, we can exchange. You can speak in your language and I will speak German, and the possibility is there, so I just take it, and it could be joy. And another reason, it could be simply destiny. Things happen. You were enrolling for a Japanese class, and when you went to the language school, and they mess up, and then instead of Japanese, they put you into German, which is completely the same. And then when you get there, no, wait, I was going to Japanese class. No, that there was a mess in the system, and you got enrolled here. Well, I want to change. No, there's no more spaces in Japanese. Well, okay, so I'm here. What am I going to do? I wanted to learn a new language. Maybe I meant to learn German. So it can happen like that. You could be wanting to learn an instrument, musical instrument. You go to a band, and you go to the director, and can I join? And yes, there's a few spots, there's a few available. And so do you give classes as well? Yeah, so we give you the instrument and we teach you some classes and you can join the band. Oh, that's great. So what is available? Well, at the moment we only have flutes. All right, I'll play the flute, right? It's destiny somehow. It was meant to be. But these things, whether it's necessity, a possibility, whether it's your destiny, this is going to be motivating you to carry on, because it's very nice to bring you into the door of the new language or new instrument that you play or whatever. But what is going to be holding on? What is going to help you hold on to the discipline and the practice that you require to get to the mastery level? Well, you have to find your own motivation there. It cannot be just because it's possible, because my neighbor is German. Because if you remember that we did another video on what are the different steps to happiness, there were 7 of them, 7 steps. And the first one and the most important is commitment. And we said that we have to commit and we have to hold the commitment all throughout the process as the character is developing and the dignity and the divinity and all those other steps. You have to hold on to that commitment. So no matter how you arrive to studying a new language or to learn how to play the flute, what is going to hold you? Because it's very beautiful at the beginning. Remember, this is the falling in love stage. Yeah, it's beautiful. Everything is like roses. It's wonderful. But as we move on, there's going to be challenges. And there's going to be moments when it's going to be question your commitment. And you're going to have to find a lot of motivation to carry on with this commitment. So this is the beginning, the setting up the stage of what's going to come. And it's all about following the rules, following basic rules. Okay, you want to play the flute? Look, this is how you have to close with the fingers. And every finger has to close perfectly the hole, because otherwise you lose air. And these are the rules for playing a re, and this for a mi, and a fa, and a sol. So you have to learn every position for those notes and how to put it's all rules, right? And you have to just follow the rules. We cannot try to experiment. We are just beginning. The beginning is not the moment of experiment. It's the moment of basically making mistakes and understanding how following the rules makes you get over your mistakes and start actually producing music or starting to communicate with a new language or something like that. All right. Hopefully the first stage is quite clear. It's not too difficult. It's not confusing. If there is any question, you can ask in the chat. That's the Sadam, which combines the joy but also a little bit of effort. At the beginning, because you are falling in love, there's almost no effort in there. It's just a lot of it is going to be pleasure. It's like in a couple. You have the first time you fall in love with somebody, and you don't have to make an effort to say, okay, we'll find a meeting, and I have to leave Thursday afternoon free because we're gonna go to the cinema. It's not like that. It's like you're excited, you're passionate, you want to go there. So that passion and excitement and all those things are the motivations that I was saying that are gonna sustain you at least during this very first stage. But then, as we are following the rules and as we are carrying on with the basics, then we enter into a second stage where we are not novices anymore. This is the stage of the apprentice. If this is like babyhood, this is like childhood. The apprentice is like childhood. And this is, you've tasted what it can be, and now part of you may just want to replicate the initial taste, like the first time you make a sound and it's beautiful and then you fall in love. But then after a while, that falling in love stage dissipates and disappears, and you're into a more regular domain of just being with that, being with learning a new language, being with playing the flute. The initial taste of joy of what it can come goes away, and you start to enjoy a different thing. It's not the possibility of what it may come, but it's the actual fact that you are beginning to learn how to play beyond being all the time concentrated on your fingers and your mouth and the different notes, and learning to read the notes and all this following these basic rules that is so difficult for the mind. Well, as soon as the rules are well understood and you know how to follow them, then you start more like the childhood, which is like a game. Childhood is about games. It's about playing and having fun while you're doing it. If you're not having fun, the danger is that initial motivation is very soon going to go away, and then the commitment, you may easily lose the commitment. So this having fun has to be part of this stage, but at the same time it's about practicing. Yeah. It's called the apprentice, so he needs to practice. And in fact, this is the thing that is going to take us to the next stage. This is quite a simple stage, but it can be very long in time. This is not time, effort, energy, maybe even money. Yes, these different things, maybe money as well. So as we are in the second stage, if we look at the numbers and we consider that the first stage was the earth, and the earth was the basics and the fundamentals and the foundations, the second is the water. Water is energy. Water is the nourishment that you get, the fuel that you get. So this second stage is all about the energy that you invest into that. It's about the effort that you make to continue. It's about the time that it takes you. At first, when you are just a novice, you don't even notice. You are just playing a little bit and you're enjoying the little bit that you are playing, the instrument, for example. Here's where you have to put the hours. Here's where you have to make the effort. Here's where you have to put the energy, and maybe you have to spend money on classes, and maybe maybe because you are learning that, it's taking away from you learning something else, or maybe working and earning money. So in some way, this is the moment of the investment. This is the stage where you have to invest. And as I mentioned, that these stages can last any indeterminate amount of time. The falling in love stage can be short or can be long. You will have all experienced this, literally falling in love with somebody with a relationship. How that sometimes we may fall in love with somebody and stay for a long time. We feel that feeling of incredible awe. Everything that they do is awesome. Sometimes that goes away really quick. You may fall in love and then going to, wow, this little honeymoon stage, but then immediately, very, very soon, as you spend more time with them, that falling in love goes away, and then you are into the regular day-to-day thing. So how long will it take? It's not very clear, but it's this tends to be shorter, and this tends to be much, much, much longer. Yeah, because the one is a very short number, it's a very small number, and number two, because it is connected to number 8, if you remember, 2 and the 8, it's connected to infinity. So sometimes you may be in that stage, in the second stage, the Karam Path, and it may seem forever. Like, okay, I'm playing the flute, and I'm playing the flute, and I'm playing the flute, but you never feel like you are advancing that much. You don't feel that you have become very proficient at it. You are again and again and more different music sheets and more different songs, and it takes a long time to get to the next level, the next stage. So this time may stretch itself and may look infinite. I didn't mention this. Maybe I should have mentioned what is going to help us to go from one to the other. So from this first stage to the second stage, the key that is going to help us to get to the second stage is obeying the rules. Because as beautiful as it is, this stage of falling in love, this is only a taste of what is to come. It's a taste of where you could get to, and maybe you are inspired by seeing a musician, an expert, master flute player who is doing this concert, and you're watching it, and you're like, "Wow, I want to do that." So that falling in love that allowed you to start practicing, it's wonderful, and you want to stay in that falling in love, but at the same time, you know that you have to get here, you're going to have to leave this stage. So you need to obey the rules. And you may not like the rules, and this is the thing. Many people have issues with following rules. But before you can even try to go away from the rules, you have to follow them. You don't take the flute the first day and then start exploring different movements of the fingers to make different sounds. You first have to learn the basics. If you want to take a piece of paper, you want to learn how to draw, you don't start doing something like cubism, right? You first learn to copy, to develop the skills or training your eye to see what is in front of you and training your hand to manifest what you are seeing within you into the page before you even try to find your own style. So it takes a lot of time of drawing, playing before you can get to your own style. And many people have a lot of challenges following orders. There's many people who are very independent, which is connected to the one, being one by yourself, independent. You don't want to follow a teacher. I talked about this in the last video last week when I was talking about the Kundalini awakening and the troubles that I had because I wanted to do everything by myself and I didn't want to go to a teacher. Well, this is what happens very, very often with independent people. They want to get there by themselves, but if nobody ever teaches you how to play the basic notes and how to read sheet music, how are you ever going to learn? It's really difficult. If nobody ever holds the bike for you to keep the balance, you can fall again and again and again and, bloody nose too many times. So sometimes it takes somebody to give you the rules and the very basic experience of what it is. And then we go from there, obeying these basic rules. So this may not be so easy for some people, just obeying. But it's a requirement in order to get to apprenticeship. I mean, if you are a novice and you go to a master, whatever it is, you want to learn the craft or learn the art or whatever, before they're going to give you the highest skills, they're going to test whether you are capable of following the basic principles and basic orders. This is why, there's these stories of the student who wants to learn from a master, and the master says, well, you go and brush, clean the doorsteps to the temple for 10 years first, and then we will see, right? So you have to obey and follow the basic rules. This is the Karate Kid, cleaning and polishing, again and again and again, is following the rules. And you don't know it, but by following these basic procedures, these basic rules, you're actually learning the fundamentals of what is going to be the essence of your art later on. Essence is one, so you are learning the essence by following these very basic rules. But if obeying was the step what required to make the step into Karam, well, I didn't mention what Karam means. Karam is like kind of kindness, is connected to kindness, but it's also connected to action, kar action. So it's action. And actually that's the clue to go to the next stage. I wrote it here, practice, but maybe I could have written it here. Practice and investment. You need to invest all this time, effort, energy. Yeah. Investing, practicing. Well, the next stage, according to the manual, this would be called the craftsman. And then the next one would be called the expert. But I actually don't like those terms too much, because I think you can be an expert within this stage, within the Shakti stage. In any case, I'm going to keep it the way it's generally written. Then I'm going to write a different term here, because I will suggest that this is also the expert. I will explain the difference later. It's not that you are an expert, it's that you think you are an expert. The Shakti path, the stage of the Shakti path is when we have been investing all this time and effort and energy, and now we feel we are very experienced. That's why I said this is also kind of the expert. To me, it makes more sense to write it, to call it like that. But what is this stage? Well, if this was babyhood and this was childhood, this is the adolescence. What is the adolescent stage? The adolescent stage is when you think you know better. The moment when you know it, when you are young and you've gotten a little bit of a sample of what life is about, and you with your fresh ideas and your beautiful active mind, because remember we are in the third stage, and 3 and 7, this is the stage of the mind. We talked about this a lot extensively on number 7. So now you are in your mind thinking and believing, and you make yourself believe that you are an expert now because you have been practicing so much, and you know all there is to know. You know all the rules, and you know everything that there is to know about playing the flute, or you know all the yoga postures, right? If you're learning yoga, you know all of them. You've practiced them all. You've practiced all the breathing and the pranayams. You've done all of that, and you think you are the expert on the subject. And actually, you will look at others. You may even look at others who are farther ahead in this path than you, but you will not recognize those who are over here. In fact, when you are here, you think you've reached the top of the ladder. You think you know everything there is to know. You know, this kind of self-centered, egocentric, I know it all, I know where I have to go. This is one of the versions. There is another version to Shakti, but I will explain the other one as well. But this is the first one. The first one is where, because the ego can be feeling above others or feeling inferior as well to others. So when you are feeling above others, that's the ego, how it comes in learning the instrument. You think you know better than the others. And maybe you are technically really good. Technically, but that doesn't make you any wiser on the instrument. So when you are here, you may be good. Sorry, let me do this. You actually emit some sort of judgment whether you are good at it or you are bad with it, because that's the other challenge. And you feel that either superior to others, like you are doing better than others, or like you feel that you are worse than even those who are over here. And therefore, that's the other side, that is like you feel like you are not progressing. You've been putting all this practice. You are very experienced, but you feel that you are never at the level that you would like to be. And maybe because 3 and 7 is vision and is looking, maybe you look at those who are already farther ahead in the path, and then you don't understand how can you get there, which is reasonable, because it's not through understanding that you're going to get here. This is not a leap in understanding. Understanding is something that the mind likes to do. And look, the mind was very useful. It took us all the way up to here, but you're not going to get here through the mind. It's beyond the mind. We're going to see this is 3 and 7. This is the mind. This is going to be beyond the mind. So when you get here, if you get here and you evaluate yourself like that, in spite of all the time, the effort, the energy that you have invested, you may find yourself losing all that interest and that passion that you were getting at the beginning, all that commitment, all that motivation that you had that made you invest so many hours. And you may find yourself close to a crisis and maybe wanting to quit. That's one possibility. When you evaluate yourself, let's experience this one first, and then we will talk about that one. When you find yourself like it's not going as well as you would like, you are very experienced, but this is not what I wanted. You can play all the songs, but it doesn't fulfill you the same way when you hear somebody else playing and something is wrong. And then you may feel like you never progress, and you will feel the desire to quit. So this is the darkness moment, the moment of the, let's say, the test. Up until now, everything was just about following orders and putting enough energy. But this is a real test. And the test if it's like that, feeling that you are not progressing, partly is not helping you to cross over because you are holding on to the things that help you get here. Now, what helped you to get here is not going to help you to get here. And that's the challenging thing, because we have been utilizing the mind to get to a certain stage, and the mind can accumulate a lot of information and knowledge, but that's not wisdom. So you can know everything there is to be about the German language, or about yogic postures, or about flutes. You may know a lot of songs, you may know all the musicians, and you may know how to read all music, you can play it perfectly, and yet knowing it intellectually, it's not the same as the wisdom aspect. The wisdom comes beyond the mind. And that's going to be really, really challenging, especially for people who are intelligent, people who have a lot of intelligence, and they get very easily to this stage. I mean, they have to put the time and the effort, but they know if they spend enough time and effort, they will learn to get here. And it can be very satisfying to be here. Look, the flute player who is here is the one who knows he can play any song. You can play it. There's no problem. It's not about this song is too technical for me, and I'm just not quick enough with my fingers, or I'm not capable. If you get here on this side, like you are good enough, you feel that you can do everything with the song that you wanted to do. You follow all the rules, and you are great at the rules. I remember I sometimes put examples with musicians, because I was a musician, and because I also, when I was teaching yoga, I used to teach next to an orchestra, and there would be some musicians who would come to do their yoga before going to practice with the orchestra. And so eventually the class, I had quite a few musicians in the class, so using music examples are useful. But I remember one of these guys, Tony, if you're watching, this goes for you. He was telling me about something that was happening in the orchestra. There was a lead position for playing the clarinet, and there were 2 spaces available. And he had been, dedicating a lot of time and energy and effort, and he had invested a lot into getting there, and he was already an expert, so he was already here for sure, no problem. But then something else helped him to jump across. Maybe I will talk about this in a moment, but he knew he was here, and I'll tell you when he knew. The moment that there was an audition, and there was a test for the other clarinets to see who would be ahead, who would be the first clarinet, who would be doing the solos, the concert solos. And there was the other guy next to him, and he said, "This is a brilliant guy. Technically, he's great." This is the way I remember. Maybe I'm misremembering, but it's a good example anyway. He's great. He's much better than me. He said he can just, but somehow he didn't get the piece, and he was not just working on the instrument, but he was working on himself as well. And doing the yoga, he wasn't just coming to class to do the postures, but he was taking the philosophy as well. And at some point, he felt a change in himself. And so the way I would describe it is, for those of us who are listening to the music, you can hear somebody who is an expert flute player, the most incredible technical musician, and it doesn't touch your heart. And yet, there might be somebody else, much more simple, more basic, not even know all the little flourishings, but they've put the hours as well. It's not that they don't put the hours, but maybe they are not as skilled technically as the other, and yet, when they play, that's it. You can feel the heart in that. Now, you may be recognizing the word heart here. Heart is the 4th chakra, so we're telling that somehow the one who crosses, the one who gets it over to the other stage, you can feel it. You can feel that they are on the other side. While when you are here, it's very technical, but there is no heart in it. And how do you teach that? That's not an easy thing to say. But this is the moment that the ego is tested. Because the ego with your mind helped you to get here, helped you to get to this third stage with all the time and following the rules and so on. But now, how do we get to here? And actually, look, you may be so good, because this is about good, you may be so skilled and so good that you can even create your own style in a way. And you may even try to get out of the rules. But somehow, it's not happening. Somehow you are staying within your own parameters, your own ego and mind is locking you, and there's something that is not helping you to go across. So, what's going to help? What's going to be the thing that is going to pull us through? Well, there's a couple of things, but this is the step that we call the leap of faith. I just put it on top of text. Okay, I'll put it here. Leap of faith. Now, you gotta keep your commitment that you started over here to learn. You gotta keep the trust that you can get it. That you can get there. You gotta keep everything that it has been helping you to get here, but somehow you have to let go of a part of you that is getting anchored here. Maybe it's about how things look, how things are being seen. I imagine, for example, I was giving the example of Cubism. Yeah, imagine Picasso. The very first time that he started to create these paintings that were so real, so different from what seemed reality, he had to cross a barrier. And probably he got a lot of heat for that. He probably, for a while, he was not accepted. And I'm sure there was a lot of criticism on what he was doing and saying, that's not painting, that's not art, so what you are doing is not. And he just had to break the molds, break the rules, right? This is where you really are capable of breaking the rules and have a leap of faith. You feel a calling, you feel something calling you. This is the heart, and the heart feels the calling. You feel a calling somewhere, and you have to, and maybe you feel a fear to go into that. Maybe, going into that stage is you're going to lose some friends. There's a moment in life always when there is something that you have the possibility to learn, and you know that if you give that step, if you learn that thing and you go into that and you bring it within yourself, you're going to lose many friends and maybe even family members. And that's a scary thing. So 4 and 6, this is the language of fear, and that's why it takes a leap of faith. It's not blind faith. Okay, it's not just blindly jumping into the void. Actually, that could be a problem, especially if you are not even here. You're maybe here, you're still following the rules, and you start trying to make your own rules. If you do that, if you try to do this jump when you are here or here, you're just not going to progress. Here you have to obey the rules, put in the hours. Practice, practice, practice. It's only after you get to this stage that you can give that jump. And it's difficult to evaluate when you are here. Your ego may have been telling you when you are here, oh yeah, I'm good enough, I know everything. It's like this playing the guitar, right? And it's like, well, I know 3 chords, so I can do whatever I want. And you feel so skilled, and you have your own voice and your own style. And okay, I mean, it sounds good. Maybe, it's okay, I like your guitar, but there's so much more to learn to get to that wisdom. So, leap of faith. And that's as radical. In the yoga, we say the longest journey is from the 3rd chakra to the 4th, from the navel to the heart. So it's from looking at your navel to going into the heart. This is so radical that this is as radical as from the adolescence to maturity. And look, maturity is not just a number, it's not a year. Yeah, many people are 35, 40, 50 years old, and they are totally immature. emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, you can feel they are like adolescents. So the adolescent stage is very easily grabbing us and we don't cross the test. Or we fail the test and we drop it. This is where many people stop playing the flute or stop learning the language, and they never go anywhere beyond because they are not willing to give that leap of faith. So this is where many people dropped out. If you are following along, and let me know if there's any question or anything you can write in the chat, because we're going to go to the next stage now. But feel free to ask any question if you want. And you know, if you're enjoying the video, you can drop the like now. Don't wait for the end. That's always good for the video. All right. So Shakti means power. So this is the power stage. Now we're going to have to go to Sahej. With a leap of faith, we go here. From the craftsman, now this is the stage that is generally called the expert, and I'm going to take the liberty of calling it differently because of the experience aspect of the expert. So in the books you will find it that as experts, I'm going to call it the artist. You may be learning how to draw. Maybe you are learning how to play the flute. Maybe you are learning physics. I don't know, computer science, whatever. Being able to put on paper a tree that you are seeing and being able to draw it, that's a skill that you can develop. This is this stage. This is up to here. This is getting skilled. And these are skills. Technical and skills, yeah. That doesn't make you an artist. You can even see a tree and being able to make a watercolor painting, an oil painting, a pencil drawing, and whatever. You can do many different styles because you've been learning, you've been practicing, you've been putting the hours. Nobody can say that you are not an expert at that. You've done all that. And yet, there may be no art. And this is so difficult because also art is quite subjective in some ways. We can say that, well, somebody will find something artistic, somebody will not. And yet I'm going to propose that this stage is the artist stage. And that's, how do we know somebody's an artist? I don't think we can tell. But I mean, sometimes you can, but it's a feeling that you get. You are looking at a painting and it raises some feelings within you. And then that's part of what art does, is raising feelings. If you're looking at a painting, you say, oh yeah, it's very well painted, and it doesn't touch you, then I'm not going to say that it's not art because it may be about you. You don't know how to see it. You're not allowing yourself to be touched. That could be as well. But it could be also on the other side. It could be the fact that this painting is very skilled but not artistic. So what is that art? This leap of faith, because it's faith, it's not blind. You have a sense that you can get to the other side. And maybe you do these leaps and they don't go anywhere. Like maybe you stop changing the rules and it doesn't go anywhere. You don't become a Picasso just because you don't paint what you are seeing. You don't establish a new form of art like Cubism. It doesn't happen. You're just exploring and maybe like it doesn't look good at all. But it may happen if you allow yourself to get out of your limits and explore with this leap of faith. This is where, if the grace comes, so there has to be a certain grace that comes and meets you from the other side. This is the sixth side, 4 and 6. So you commit yourself, you give the leap, and if the grace is there, then you can find on the other side. You can find on the artist's side. Now, here can be very intuitive. This is, you are not, if any person who is here on these stages are asking you, but how do you do that? You may be able to explain what you're doing because you are an expert at the field, but you cannot explain how you got to this new level. They can copy you, but that doesn't make them the artists. So the moment that you're an artist, there's something beyond that you can express through your art, and yet you cannot specifically teach somebody how to do this. You can give them life lessons, but not tell them, well, if you hold the pencil like this, if you hold the flute like that, if you play this note like this, you will be an artist. It doesn't work like that. There's no rules to get there. You have to give that leap of faith. But if you are there, then you will feel it. You feel it in your heart. Now, just like here, you felt that you thought you were at the top of the world. You thought that was the mind. Here you can feel that something has changed, and you are beyond the critical point of Shaktipat. This is called Shaktipat, the edge where you are being tested, and you feel, I overcame the test. Now suddenly, when you overcome the test, then all this there's no effort anymore. This effort thing, you can be playing and it's just you are in the. Like sometimes they say in the flow, everything is just happening naturally, like harmoniously. There's a harmony around what you are doing. That's almost already touching the fifth stage, by the way. We are already touching the sat when I'm starting to say this naturally thing. But in the fourth, there is this aspect. We are beyond the skill. We are in the realm of art. And I have an intuition of how I want to express myself through the flute today, and it's going to be something different. Or, there's something intuitive about it, something about your heart in it. So when this student, Tony, was playing the flute, and he said that one day he had been doing yoga for some time, and he said that one day he went to play in the orchestra, and he somehow was so in tune, and then he played a solo, and then it was incredible. It was like, wow. And that wow, you will remember I mentioned that wow at the very beginning when I said in the very first stage, when we are falling in love with a new instrument, with a new language, or with whatever you are learning, there is a moment of wow. Well, that wow is coming back here. Yeah, the grace comes and you're like, and there is, you hear it in the breath. Yeah, this is the heart. So it's your heart, is your soul, is connected to your soul and the breath, and it's like there's some incredible moment, and at this moment you realize that you got it. That the place that you wanted to get to when you were here, this is when you get there. And you can, he said, no, he was playing in that concert and he felt incredible. Everything was just different from what he used to do, and it was not technical, it was about something else. And he got a ovation and for a long time, and he was, wow, what's happening here, no? And so he was telling me, because he was very happy of having experienced that, but he somehow also connected it to the changes that he was going through in his life, and doing the yoga was part of it, and being in contact with himself and breathing and so on. So everything all together was happening. The artistic part was coming up. And look, even in anything that you learn in life. Oh, Sadam Infinity, hello. I didn't see you here. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Some people will stay. Here is you either fall in love or you just don't like it, and then you stop and you try something else. But if you fall in love, you will tend to go into here to start putting in the practice. And for some people, it will be too much practice and they will not be invested enough because the motivation is not strong enough. But if they do put the practice, they may get here. And now a lot of people are going to stay here. So you can have, an electrician coming to your house. You can have a computer programmer. You can have a school teacher. And they are all experts, or they are all, let's say, really good at their things. They have very good technical skills. They are very experienced teachers. They know how to do it. But how many teachers touch your heart? How many programmers come and they don't just update your system, but they actually make it more efficient, and somehow, I don't know what it could be, but it's something beyond. So that's something else. So there's nothing wrong with staying here. We don't have to give this jump. And there's in fact, many people who will stay here. And in fact, for us ourselves, there will be many areas of our life where we will never go beyond this. But some people will cross, or in some areas we may cross. And if we may cross again, we may stay here. We may never get here to the wisdom, the final wisdom, yeah? We may just stay in this Sahej. But Sahej is kind of like things are easy. This is maturity. This is adulthood, remember? Baby, child, adolescent, mature adult. So this is your maturity. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can stay here and just continue being an artist. And that would be enough for you. You don't have to go to another stage. However, there is one more stage. And some will experience it. I will first describe the last stage. If this was baby, childhood, I keep putting this away from the screen. Adolescent, this is maturity. Well, this is the golden age. This is when you have crystallized all the learnings from your life. You know, old age doesn't guarantee wisdom, but the age, or rather we say the time, gives you one of the ingredients that you need to get there. So if you get there, if you get to this fifth stage, sat means the truth. If you get to this sat path, this is where, first of all, this is very rare. Not attained by all, and even if somebody reaches in one area of their life, they can be a mess in another area of their life. They can be in sat path in something, and in relationship with other people, they can be in Shakti path, in learning some new skill, they can be in Sadam path, whatever. So it's very rare to get to this stage, but this is the rare moment when there is no effort. We call it effortless effort, where every resistance has disappeared and you are merged with that thing. This is by the way, this is called the master. Yeah, the artist, the master. You reach mastery, you become one with what you have been learning. This is part of you. It's a matter of identity. So the flute player who gets to Satpad, this is the one when there is no separation between the flute and their body. You feel like it's part of them. They are not holding an instrument. It's part of them. Instrument would be something technical. That would be like Shaktipat. This is beyond an instrument. When you're in Satpad, the flute is part of you. And you are just doing what you are expressing yourself. I remember I had a teacher, a saxophone teacher, and I went to see him at a concert one day, and he was playing. And actually, I don't know if he was in Satpad. He was definitely an artist, but you could see him when he was playing. His whole body was moving. All of his body was expressing himself. There was no saxophone in his hands. You didn't see the saxophone. You would just feel him. Right? He wasn't even feeling the music that he was producing, because he was becoming the music. So there was this moment of becoming it in some way. So when you get to Satpad, if you get to Satpad, which is very rare, then there is a union with that. This is it's a matter of identity. You are not doing yoga, and even you are not an artist in the doing yoga. You are a yogi. This is part of your identity. This is the thing that you identify with. There is no such a thing as you without that part. And it's just part of your expression. So it's very rare. When you are there is no effort. You know all about the path. You can even pretend to be in any of these stages if you wish, and you know how you got to here. But how do you get here? Well, first of all, getting here requires a grace. It's not guaranteed. There is a big test. But now, even get to here, this is even rarer. Even more rare. Yeah, this is quite unique. But there is no guarantee. But if there is something that can help you get here, there is one thing that can help: to teach. Teaching. If you are able to teach what you learn, what you know, what you are doing as an art, then when you are teaching, you are exposed to people who don't know anything about that. And through the questions and through the interaction with people who are not doing that, you are polishing yourself to a deeper level. You may think you know something, that would be Shaktipat. Somehow you gave a big jump and now you're producing art, but you don't know how you're producing this art. This could be like a very, how did I say that? Intuitive. Like you're intuitively painting, but you don't know how you are doing it. Well, if I have to teach other people how to get here, well, that's going to confront me with what am I doing, and it's going to bring much more clarity to what I am doing with this, and it's going to help you to get here if it happens. So teaching is an ingredient that can help us to get here. I think this would be a wonderful idea in schools. If in the schools they could put the children aligned. Sadam, hey Sadam, hello. Kasia? Oh, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Is that Polish, or I wonder where it's from? But yeah, welcome to the stream. Good to see you here. Thank you. So, what was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. Teaching. Anyway, teaching. What else is there to say? Okay, so here we have the whole path. Here we have all the 5 stages. Is Polish? Yeah, excellent. So sorry for not knowing how to pronounce it, but yeah, I love to see people from other nationalities here. Good to see you. So this is the whole path. Now, there was a few, and as I mentioned, we can be in different levels at different stages with different aspects of our life. I can be learning yoga on one level and then learning to play the flute in a different level. And there's a number of fallacies that can happen on this path towards wisdom. And one of them is that you may be an expert on something, you may even be a master in one thing, and believe that that's making you a master in other things. So it's easy to feel that just because you are good at one thing, then you are becoming good at many other fields as well. Infinity says, what if the teaching turned out to be somewhat karmic? Sometimes even the teacher realizes later that what he knew before was kind of wrong or contained some errors. Well, that's fine. That's fine because if you are, by the way, that would be, if you are not in this stage and you are teaching, it's fine. You can always teach in any stage, whatever stage you are. I remember now what I was going to say. Even if you are here and you think you know everything and you start teaching, which is kind of like jumping here, by being exposed to people who don't know anything about it, they're going to ask you the simplest questions, and they are going to confront you with what you think that you know, and it is wrong. An example, I was teaching numerology class, and I was like, stress. Let's talk. Stress is number 3. Because in Spanish, tres means 3. So I was like, stress has to be 3. So we started the class with this premise, stress is number 3. And then the more we were talking about the stress, and then the students were asking me questions about, isn't that stress? And I was like, I haven't got it. It's not 3, this is wrong. What I'm saying is wrong. But because you are teaching somebody else, you're not just keeping it inside and nurturing yourself, but you are sharing it with others. They are going to be a reflection. They are going to show you your errors, and it's going to help you to correct your path. Now, that's when you are here and you are teaching. When you are here, there is no such thing as doing something wrong. As Sahej, if you are a painter, let's say Picasso doing his cubism thing, nobody's going to ask him a question and he realized that he's doing it wrong in any way. He's still starting to polish his own art. And when you go to that stage, remember, this is beyond good and bad. So this is beyond right and wrong. So when you are to these stages, it's not really, you cannot be really wrong. You can just be expressing yourself, and that's your artistic way of doing it. Now, when you are here, definitely there could be a lot of errors, but here it's just things are happening and they are intuitive, and who am I to criticize it or to question it in that way? But yes, so teaching is so good. It's such a good tool that we would recommend teaching even when you're starting. Even when you are here, teaching it to others is going to help you push forward. It's kind of the thing that was initiating and that you have to hold on. Remember, commitment. We have to commit to start the path, like the 7 steps to happiness. Well, that commitment has to be held all throughout. But if you start teaching, that's going to be putting you into relationship to what you think that you know, and confronting you with any error that you may think that you know right, and it's actually an error. So yes, good. The other thing I was going to say when I got distracted with the Polish name was that it would be so lovely if in schools, kids from different ages would be in the same class. And some schools do it, and the school of my kids did it for a while, especially like all the kids from 3 to 6 years old, they were together. Because there's something very special happening there. First, if you have a younger kid with an older kid, the older kid is teaching the younger kid how to do things. And I can see that very often with my daughters, like the older sister teaching something to the younger one. And that's two things are happening there. One, the one who is teaching, they are advancing incredibly fast, because teaching is really, really good. If you think you know something, teach it to somebody else first. Not to lose it, because anything that we grab onto and we keep it secret, we lose it. By sharing it, we become masters of it. So teach it. That's one thing. By teaching it, so my daughter would be advancing very quickly by teaching my other daughter, no, the older to the younger one. But also, it's for the younger ones, they are sometimes easier to learn from the older kids than from the teachers, because they have a different language and they explain it in a different way. Adults, we talk things in different ways, and I mean, somebody who has studied pedagogy has a very good capacity to teach children, but still, it's not the same if the teacher is saying something, or my friend here, who is a few years older than me, is telling me something. So this relationship is really interesting, and I find this when they do these vertical classes, that they call it like that, like 3 years together, or having like this concept of older brother, older sister in the school. They communicate to each other, and I think that's much healthier in classes. Also, it avoids children being isolated, because the older kid can help them to get introduced with the other kids. It avoids situations, it may help to prevent bullying and things like that. So, having different ages together, I find it very, very interesting, but it doesn't happen too often. All right, let's see a few messages. If it says, but with social media, it's mass scale. Previously, the teacher would know the students, hence what he's going to teach to suit all. Yeah, that's right. So for experience, for example, I guess, if you want to teach about health, you can speak about a plant or food that may suit 99%, but may damage or hurt someone, depends on their genetics or dosha. Yes. And if you have reached this stage, you will know it. And so when you are teaching, you will not say, this is good for everyone. You will not say, this plant cures all. Because it's not true. The moment that we say all, that's not true. Look, this is Sat. Sat is truth. And when I hear in conversation somebody saying, always like this, or never like this, or this is for everyone, or for no one, a part of me is like, okay, let me think of the exception. Because I can always get when I hear this, I always go into this, what is the exception here? I just said the word always and I cut myself with the always. But I do that. When I hear somebody saying something that is extreme in nature, like totally for everyone or for no one, there has to be some exception case. So the one who is in this level, they will know that for 1% of the people, this may not work, and they may be able to verbalize it. Because look, number 5 is linked to 5th chakra, which is speaking. So it's about putting words something that you have never put into words. Some people, I've met some artists, they are incredible artists of whatever their field is, but they are just unable to voice it. So speak. Can you speak? Can you speak it? Can you say what you have been, what you are doing? Can Picasso just do a painting and drop it, or can he talk about it? How can he express what it conveys? Got it? 100%. Thanks for clarifying that. I was confused about it for a while. Yeah. I think so. I mean, this 100%. This is the one who sees the sat, the truth, around that topic, around that, whatever they have reached wisdom. They have the wisdom. And reaching wisdom is a lot about being able to say what is not. So a lot of the capacity of somebody who gets to that level, the level of wisdom, they don't know exactly everything that is going to work for every student. So, for example, if I'm teaching yoga and a student is exploring something else, or let's say we were going on with examples of the music, that's a good example, or painting, right? Okay, so I'm teaching, imagine that I was I'm not a flute player. Imagine I was a master flute player. And I have a new student, and I'm teaching this new student, and the student is doing something wrong, something that it just doesn't follow the basic rules and that we know that they have to be obeyed, then we are going to know it. So wisdom gives you the capacity to discriminate what is not. But it doesn't necessarily tell you what it is. So very often with the wisdom, you know what is not, but you don't know what is going to be. And you can just guide the person, helping with different ways to find their own expression and find their own heart, their own art. Because if you are an artist and you are teaching somebody else, you are trying to help them get to their heart. You are not trying to get them to your level, to your way. You know, they can copy you, the way you play, the way you paint, but that's not going to make them artists. Making them artists is helping them to find who they are. And now, as a teacher, when they are doing something that is out of themselves and it's not aligned with their nature, you can feel it very clearly if there is this wisdom aspect, right? If the wisdom is there, you can tell when the person is deviating. But maybe you don't necessarily know what there is their path, because they haven't got here. Otherwise, they would be already expressing it. So they didn't get here, and therefore that leap of faith is unknown yet. This is the unknown. There is an expression of the unknown into crossing here, and even somebody who is here, you may not know what this means for another person. But, you know, if you're a teacher, you can guide and you can help and you can correct and you can give little taps, and the person is trying to go that way, and you feel like, okay, they are breaking the rules, nothing wrong. Leap of faith implies breaking rules. Remember, this is following the rules, this is breaking the rules in a way. It's fine. But is that breaking the rules guiding them closer to their truth, sat, or not? And that's what wisdom gives you. When you are on the other side, on the sat, and you see somebody breaking the rules and say, well, is that making them closer to their identity or not, their true identity? And very often you can tell when it's not rather than when it is. So wisdom has a lot to do with being able to say, not that way, no, not that way, not that way. But which way? I don't know. Keep trying. I don't know, because it's unknown. In the student, you don't know yet how it will manifest. So I am a teacher, so I teach. This is my job, my profession. That's what I do. I teach. And so when I have somebody asking me questions, any student in any training, sometimes I don't know where they are going. Or when I have a consultation with somebody and they are trying to find guidance in this issue in their life, I don't know what they have to do. But when they are speaking, I can hear, oh, not that way, or not that way, right? So that's the capacity to discriminate. And I'm not even saying I am wise, okay? I'm not trying to say I am wise. But I can tell when I have some drop of wisdom, let's say, when I can detect that something is not going in a particular way. So wisdom is connected to this aspect of not this, not this, not that. It's called eliminate to illuminate. Not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. that. So this is wisdom myself. We would associate it with number 8. I'm not going to go into that right now, but let's say that I'm saying no, 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 not this one, not this one, not this one. This discrimination is linked to the no, and the no is linked to the second and the 8. We saw that in the other video. We were talking on the 2 and the 8 and the negative mind, the mind that says no, because it's like the water that cleans. It's a no, 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 no. So the wisdom would be on the other side, would be the 8. 2 would be saying no, and 8 would be the wisdom. So we were, all this talk about wisdom would be talking about number 8. And so we are having 5 steps to wisdom, but we were connecting it like this. So this is what we have been doing today. And there is a number of fallacies. I mentioned when you think you are, when you are a master in one area, think that you are in everything, or when you think you don't need a teacher, when you don't need, you are the master and you have only reached here, that's another one. Or maybe you are here spending energy and you feel that you can skip this step. You want to skip by this leap of faith and breaking the rules when you haven't put all the time. So you may want to skip steps, and that's not. So there's a lot of fallacies that can occur in all this. But hopefully the whole path is clear. Let me know if there is any question on this. Now this applies to anything in life. Whatever you are learning in life, to get to mastery of that thing, being a father. I'm putting the hours now. I'm still here putting the hours, and I have some experience, but I'm not yet here. I'm definitely not an artist being a father. So, I'm learning. We are putting on the stages. We are slowly. Whatever you have to learn in life, doing YouTube videos, right? For me, I'm expressing myself. I'm definitely doing this stage as well. I'm getting better with the technical skills, but sometimes I mess up, and I don't think I'm here, and I'm just putting hours and following the rules. What does the algorithm want? How can I make the thumbnail look a little bit more appealing? I don't know. Is it looking better? And I don't know. And I have many doubts, many questions. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is this thumbnail going to help? Is this title going to help? At the end, I want to serve the teaching, so I want the teachings to reach people, so I want the videos to be compelling and people to click on them, but at the same time, what are the rules that I have to follow? And the rules are not always written. This is another thing. You may be learning something in life, and the basic rules we have to follow, they are not always clear. This is like, I don't know where I read this, but it's God plays dice with the universe. No, Einstein said God doesn't play dice with the universe, but there is a saying that says, well, it's like, we are playing a game and we don't even know the rules. And every time we throw the dice, God is laughing. No, it's just like, okay, so what do I do? Right? And we are almost in this stage in many things in life, particularly in living in life, in general in life. We don't know the rules that we have to follow. So we are putting in the time. The time goes by, put the energy, the effort. Okay, I'm having some experience. Some are good, some are bad. But am I an artist of living my life? I don't know. I'm not, right? So we don't even know the rules. How can we break them as well? And why should we break the rules? Maybe we don't want to break the rules. So that's an interesting concept. But yes, that's applicable to anything in life that we are learning in getting to that mastery. How can one know on which stage they are? Because no matter how much I learn in any subject, I feel like I'm always at beginner level because I see how much still I don't know there. It's not easy to tell, but I don't think you can know intellectually. But when you cross this barrier, there is a feeling that you got somewhere else. The things are easier. There is less resistance. Here, it is effortless. So if it's taking some effort, if it's being challenging, if it's being difficult, we are still in these 3 levels. The moment that we give the leap of faith and we jump into the unknown, we allow the wow, in this moment, things become much easier and much more harmonic with our heart and with how we feel. And we feel it inside, that we've made some progress. Further than that, apart from that, we don't know. And if we don't know, as long as we don't know, that's why we need a teacher. So the one who gets here, and to get here is helpful to teach. It's not the only way, by the way. Somebody can be a master and not be a teacher. It can happen. I'm just saying, if you teach, it's helpful to get here. But if this is to teach, this is the student. If this is the teacher, this is the student. The student needs to obey. So if we feel that we don't know enough, then that means that we need a teacher. We need somebody to guide us like that. Everybody needs a teacher. Okay, so it's not that somebody needs a teacher. We all need a teacher, and particularly a spiritual teacher. So we always need somebody who's going to be guiding us. And the teacher doesn't have to know everything, which is also an interesting thing. The teacher doesn't have to be here. The teacher can be here, or may even can be here. But if you are somewhere around here, the teacher may be able to see how can they, give this little nudging from one side or the other to put you on the path. All right. So you will remember that we had this list from the last week. I didn't start with this. I wanted to do this first. Now let's add these 5 stages to the list, the paths. So we're going to have Sadam path, Karam, the action, Shakti path, the moment of darkness, Sahej path, and Sat path. So these are the 5. Let me zoom out a little bit like this. These are the 5 stages of wisdom. Now, there is a few other things which are 5, and we already know them, so we don't have to explore them now. And if you want to explore them better, you can watch the corresponding videos, because we already talked about these things. One I mentioned today is when we talk about the realms of the blue ethers, and those are the Khans. This is on the video on death. If anybody hasn't seen that video, that's a very interesting topic, so I recommend that. Now, the terms, I'm going to write them here because they are very similar but different. Dharam, Khand, Gyan, Khand, Sadam, and here is where you will recognize the same word as here, but it's in a different level. Sadam, Karam. Here you will see again the same word as this one, but it's a different level. And Sach. Sach and Sat is kind of the same word in Gurmukhi. It's, I think it was from different regions of the Punjab. They would pronounce it in one way or another, and it may have a different connotation, but it's basically the truth level. So we have this, sorry, let me just show it again. So we have all these things, and this is going to be complementing the work that we did on the last week. And we're going to carry on writing things here as we are exploring them in future videos. Today I just wanted to add this new level. So I think it's not for today. It was a deep subject. Well, I hope it was useful. If you found it useful, let me know. If you have any question, let me know as well. If you want to explore any aspect, write a comment. But as usual, thank you for being here. Share it with others. Thank you everyone who was watching. Thank you for everybody who's watching the recording, not the live version as well. I know I do the live streams in this hour because it suits me and I think suits most people, but I understand many people cannot log in, so you watch the recording. It's also fine. Thank you also for all the members. Until next time, Sadam.